with the queen, Veronica. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
I'm nervous.
I know we got the little delay going from Puerto Rico, and that's okay. And we're going to get into your story right after this. Okay, right after this.
Here's the big question.
How are agents like us,
who didn't get an opportunity to invest in a franchise early,
who are spending time and money to sell homes,
building someone else's saleable asset?
How do we grow a business but still build wealth?
Have an exit strategy,
and get a piece of the pie that's not dependent
on us working more hours and every weekend?
That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer.
My name is Jay Kinder.
My name is Al Stasek.
And I'm Michael Reese. We are your hosts, and welcome to the One Big Fire podcast.
Welcome to the One Big Fire podcast, and I am here with one of my favorite human beings in the world, not even making it up, can't even make it up, who took time away from, of course she's working on herself. She's in a Tony Robbins learning seminar right now online in her beautiful home in Puerto Rico. Welcome, Veronica.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I don't know why I'm cheesy and I'm so full of like energy, but I guess maybe the Tony Robbins event does that to you. But I'm excited to be here with you.
Of course it is. Of course it does. I mean, Tony's the man. I can't wait to actually see him in Dallas. And are you speaking at that event as well?
I don't think so, but I'm going to be there front and center, like not going to miss any minute of it.
By the way, if anybody is watching this and you have not seen Tony Robbins, I literally was on a call today with our leadership, and Brent Gove was on the call, and there are literally only 500 seats left. The front rows are taken, gone. I reach out to Veronica. If you know Veronica, reach out to me if you want a ticket, because when they're gone, they're gone. This event's going to sell out. There's going to be thousands of top agents there to see Tony Robbins. Tony freaking Robbins. I don't know if he's ever done a real estate event, but Veronica, this is going to be the best real estate event that anyone's ever attended. And I don't want to go off on that tangent, but I can't wait to see you there. And anybody listening, I put into the caption that why did another real estate RE/MAX broker who didn't have to do anything, was uber successful, selling hundreds and hundreds of homes, had an amazing team with amazing culture, great office. I came down and visited. You didn't have to make any moves, but you moved your team to eXp Realty a few years back. We met in Key West. Never forget it. It was amazing. Met you and Tony. Tell us your story starting from the beginning, because actually I don't think we've ever sat down and heard the whole story of your rise to the top. But I know there's people that are interested in hearing it. So let's hear it, Queen. Tell us your story.
Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. You know, I think I've told my story many times, but I think I read something today is change your story and change your life, you know, and I think for many, many years, I may have been a victim to a lot of the things that have happened to me. And now I see that everything that has happened in my life has happened for a purpose. And, you know, I got into the business just like everyone else, just trying to make a living, trying to take care of my kids. And I probably realized early on, now that I reflect back on it, is that, you know, one thing that I've always done is I take action. You know, I took action in my career. I went through a divorce with my, you know, previous husband, and I had small kids. And at that moment, I was just like, I just got to feed my kids. You know, I had an awesome opportunity to, you know, tap into my network before social media, before any of this stuff. You know, I was just doing the good old belly to belly, elbow to elbow grind. You know, every baby shower, every wedding, every event that I could go to, I was there because I just needed to feed my kids. I just needed to eat. But, you know, I tapped back into that habit that I had then, is like I was just willing to do whatever it took to accomplish what I needed to accomplish in my life at the time. I had a previous career in human resources and you know, a passion for development, a passion for that in the hospitality industry. And I'm very grateful for that time in my life, because it taught me a lot of the things that, you know, I would say apply today, you know, relationships, customer service, you know, excellence, that you learn and what people will do, sometimes save thousands and thousands of dollars to take their vacation or take their family, you know, and kind of got a little of that Disney training. What a lot of people don't know is I actually didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to go to college. I was lost my early years from the age of 18 to about 22 in life. And I was going to be a cosmetologist. I was going to be a nail tech. I was going to be this. I actually took a job in housekeeping in Disney, and I got fired. Well, actually, I think I quit before I got fired because they wouldn't let me wear an anklet bracelet with inside of my pantyhose. And I was like, you know what? This chick looks like a chick that wears ankle bracelets. Okay. So nobody's going to tell me, not even Disney's going to tell me I can't wear an ankle bracelet. So I was a rebel even then. But, you know, just kind of leading up to that story, I think of all the things, and I'm grateful for all the experiences that I had, Albie, that now that I'm mature enough to reflect and be like, all of that played a role in my life. You know, I even think of like the Disney experience of the trainings that I went with them. They called you cast members. Back then, I didn't appreciate certain things, but I'm thinking about like the 5-10 rule. You know, you're in front of someone within 5 feet. You always acknowledge, you talk to them. Within 10 feet, you smile, and the energy that can come with that smile. You know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have never talked about that perspective. But now that I'm working on the deep work of going back and listening and thinking and reflecting, I'm so grateful for all of that stuff prior to real estate. And then when I got into real estate, subconsciously, I guess I didn't realize I was applying some of that. And I just got really good at, you know, peopling, right? And working. And I realized, man, I thought I sucked in sales because I hated timeshare. Tried that. And I was like, I suck at this. But you know what? I realized that people say I'm a great salesperson, but really, I think I'm just a really great connector with people. And I like to, you know, connect with people and make them smile and help them. And that's how I've applied my entire business. So when I got into real estate, I got good really quickly at building relationships. Maybe I made a lot of mistakes along the way in the transactions, but I got really good at building relationships with people. And next thing you know, I started running a business, and I was really crappy at running a business, but I was really great at people. So, you know, and then I started realizing maybe I was good at the initial people aspect of my business, but then, you know, there were other areas I needed to improve. But along the way, business just started growing, and I became a successful real estate agent. And then something also that I realized I was really good at was manifesting, like what I wanted in my future. And, you know, I got into real estate when real estate was popping. Like you walk outside and it was like commission checks just raining. You remember that time around 2005 where you'd walk outside and be like, oh, a commission check just hit me. Oh, another closing. Yeah. And, you know, like people would frown, you know, oh, a $300,000 house. They'd snoot their nose up on it. I was picking up everything in every corner.
Right now a little bit. Isn't it like back then? It's kind of in almost eerie way scary. Like we don't want to go back to what happened in 2007, 2008, 2009, and I don't believe that we are. But this it feels like that now. Doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of does. And I always reflect on that, but I stay super positive. And I know one thing, and I can tell people the formula as to how you'll survive in any market. And we'll talk about that in a second. But, you know, like I reflect back on that time and, you know, just the opportunities. But then when we lost it all, let's see, and the market crashed.
Puerto Rico internet will come back for her. She's a little bit frozen.
Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're cutting in and out a little bit, and it's right at the perfect time when you're about to dig into the like best part here.
All right, let's see. Am I back?
You are back. Yes.
Am I back? Okay, good.
Yes.
So just kind of like when the market crashed, I'll be, you know, like us, it was all ripped from us. It was all taken away from us. And truthfully, that's when I was really tested in the industry, just like all of us. And I had to make some serious decisions. Was I going to let the market determine my economy? Was I going to let the market determine my future? And that's when I absolutely said no. And I took action. And, you know, there's a lot more to it, but I just took massive action. And I'll go back to what I said. I was really good at manifesting. That was when the REO market hit. And I tell this story, and I've told it before, is I looked at who were the top REO agents in the market. I took a picture of them and I cut it out. I put it on my armoire. I looked at them. I put every single one of their picture up, and then I put mine right beside it. And I said, I'm going to be the next top REO agent in my market. If there's inventory, I'm going to go find it. And I took I don't even know how I got $5,000, a little bit left that I had, flew to Texas, knocked on asset managers' doors and started hustling. Next thing you know, I built my REO team. And, you know, I was just praying for one account, Albie, because that's all I needed. Just give me one shot. I came home to one account that gave me 37 assets across the entire state. And I had to build a team overnight in other cities that I didn't even know how. And I had to hire people to be my occupancy checks, my REO people, my photographers, my people. If you have blood running through your veins, you were working for me in a different city. But I was willing to do that. And that same fire is what I apply now to everything that I do in my life. I will take massive action. I will find the right people and I will just go after it. And it's just kind of like those phases in my life that I go back to those moments. I'm like, dude, this is simple. Relationships, taking massive action and just, like doing right by what you say you're going to do. And then the rest, the rest will just work out for itself. So that's kind of like really the first journey to really growing my business. And that's kind of like what set the tone for, what all this turned out. And then from there, I just opened a team. I opened a RE/MAX franchise. I wanted more for my independent brokerage. I realized that I was thirsty for more and I was just always striving excellence and striving for more. So I wanted to be around people who could teach me more, people who knew more than me, people who would pour into me. And that's why I get to sit at the table with you and Jay and Michael and all the amazing mentors that I have. And now today, I have the honor of being your partner. And I think we're almost at 1,500 partners at EXP. We're living a dream and my focus is helping other leaders and helping other people. And it's just a fun ride. So I don't know what else you want to know, but I can go on.
Well, I know you can, and you do. I mean, from the Inman stage to stages with EXP Realty events, you inspire people. You inspired me the first weekend that I got to spend time with you guys down in Key West. And it's this energy that you put off that's amazing. I want to go back and kind of talk about a couple of things. You were down to $5,000. I mean, that's not a whole lot of money in our industry. I mean, I've been there, by the way, and it's all too many times painful times. It usually happens for us. It's like Q1, sales. Yeah. I should say closings slow down to like nothing. And so, this cycle that we survived, it actually forced us into a survivor mode in 2007. I remember 2008, I would probably chalk up to maybe the worst year of my life. And there were the lessons that I learned that carry me over to today, right? That watching us go from having a whole bunch of money in the bank to like in debt by $40,000, blowing through the savings, digging in. And it was actually Tony Robbins, since we brought him up, that, I mean, I have a bunch of his CDs and recordings that I've collected. And I did the UPW thing and did that, but I had to go back and channel that again. And the one thing that I took away from Tony was when he was down and out, he, ran into some serious financial issues himself, and he had a choice. The choice was file bankruptcy or dig in and just do not quit and get it back on that treadmill and keep running. And that's what he did. That's what inspired me to keep going. I almost just dropped out of the business and said, screw it. I'm going to go get a 9-to-5 job. But I popped in one of the Tony's recordings. I dug in and I dug my ass out. And it's that sure will of I'm just not going to lose. I'm not going to lose. I hate losing more than I like winning. Winning's great. But I just think that you've inspired so many people. What if you were to look back, and there's a couple decisions that I've made. I always like looking at decisions. It's easier to look backwards and say, well, that was a really good one. Maybe this wasn't such a good one. And for me, there's really my career and the success up to today has boiled down to one or two decisions. That was it. If you were to look at one or maybe two, what would the number one or top two decisions that you've made in your career that have been able to position you right now? So right now, I know for a fact you don't have to be here. I know for a fact you could retire very, very comfortably right now. But yet you keep pushing on. You're watching a personal development thing right now. What would the number one or top two decisions that you've made looking back that had the biggest impact of positioning where you're at today?
Gosh, there's quite a few, but I really think it even goes back to before business. You sometimes think about maybe that moment in your life where someone said something to you that you just kind of go back to. And I remember making a promise to my parents that I would not be a statistic. And, Albie, you probably have heard this, maybe deal, but I got at 16. I had my son at 17, and the biggest fear was seeing my parents cry, and they're like, your life, that's it, you've ruined your life, and then at that point, I just remember my parents did the best they could to raise us. My dad was in the military, my mom was an entrepreneur. They really gave us a good foundation. And as rebel children, like sometimes you just mess it up, you don't think about the consequences. But I remember that moment of seeing them sad, and I felt a level of maturity at that moment. Like, they didn't deserve that. They didn't deserve to feel like they failed. And I was on a mission to make sure I would live my life for the rest of my life to make sure that they knew that they didn't do wrong. They did the best they could, and that I would make them proud. And I would do, I would do the things that I needed to do in life, because I really wanted to make sure that I honored everything that they did for us. So that was one of them. And, maybe I made a couple more mistakes along the way, but I always had them as my inspiration. So throughout that journey, I was always searching, like, okay, I got to keep my promise. So, I went to college, I graduated with 2 kids on my hip, college. And I just always stayed focused on that mission. I didn't know what success was going to look like. I didn't know what not being a look like, but I just know I was going to work really, really hard. That was one of them that I can always go back to. And then the other thing, Albie, is I was successful, but I wasn't happy for a long time too, until right around 2014 that I got really clear. I was in the rat race. I was grinding, I was doing all of that, but I wasn't really clear as to why I was doing certain things until I almost lost my life in 2014. I went into anaphylactic. 5 years old, I discovered I was allergic to like Advil and Bayer and NSAIDs, and I had no idea. Things that are over the counter, Midol, you take it when you're on a cycle. And I almost died in front of my kids. And that moment, I really felt like I had an outer body experience, that I saw my family feeling like they were watching me die. And I was overweight, I was drinking, I was just a disaster. But I was good on paper because I could close deals, but I wasn't happy. And it was that life event that really triggered me to say, no, you've got to really live in a life of abundance. And when I say abundance, I mean happiness, joy, and get out there and make an impact and live, because you're just right now doing, you're not serving. I was just doing. And I knew I had to change my life. So I took control of I was 100 pounds overweight. I was, depressed. I was, taking antidepressants, you name it. And that shifted. And it goes back to what John Cheplack says to us, or Tony Robbins says to us. It starts from within. And it'll show up. So for business, I can sit here and tell you what was that monumental business moment, but it was the moment I started to work on me internally that started to show up externally. So and you could tell me, am I freezing up, or are you hearing me?
No, we're good. You're rolling.
Okay.
Keep going.
So it was the inner work that I was willing to do. And that was, I'm going to get my health back. I'm going to take care of my health. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get my health back. And then I went to a cabin in 2014 to celebrate New Year's. And instead of the big partying thing, we just sat and we just journaled. And I released everything that was at that moment negative in my life, that was really holding me back, that was really at that moment in that life, that I just said, I need to cut this out of my life. And I also gave gratitude for the life that I was envisioning as if I was living it in that moment. So I described what it would look like. And I basically got into a state of gratitude as if I was in that moment already living the life that I was dreaming about, the business I was dreaming about, the impact, being on stages, sharing my story, being authentic, living and building a business that was just beyond my imagination. And that moment was when I embarked on that journey of all right, so in order for this to happen, I got to take massive action. I've got to do X, Y, Z, but I had to hit rock bottom to remind me that I needed to do some deeper work. And that's really when I just started getting really clear on my purpose. And I unleashed that whole like kind of like superhero, I'm a badass, I've arrived, I'm here to take my life back, let's go, let's get it. And it was just like this phase. And then I just was like, like success looks different at that point. And I've had to revisit that exercise a couple times in my life, because life is not perfect. I'm not perfect. I literally don't have a perfect life, but I just kind of go back into that. I'm like, all right, girl, pep talk, let's go. You've already experienced things in life that you've overcome. Like this is just a little jump, a little hurdle that you got to get over, a little puddle you got to jump over. So let's go. So those were really significant moments in my life that I'm super grateful for, that I went through, that remind me of like, this is just real estate. This is just work. There's a bigger purpose. There's this thing called life that's bigger than us. So we gotta really work hard on that. So yeah, that's me. That's really what changed in my life.
I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing this. This has been amazing. I couldn't help but remember something that Mike Reese told me. I call them Mike Reese-isms, and I know they're probably not all from Mike, but I remember this day like it was yesterday. I was in my old office and I was complaining and bitching to him about something that probably was like nothing. And I honestly don't even remember what it was, but I remember what he said because I got up and I wrote it on my whiteboard. And you just kind of reminded me of it. And it's any problem you have right now that can be solved by money or with money isn't really a problem. And what he was getting at, and I didn't know this at the time, but they had their youngest son potentially had a condition that they didn't know they didn't know what the outcome was going to be, and thankfully it came out great. His son's healthy and great right now. But if you have a problem right now that can be solved with money by making more money and then it solves it, that's not really a problem. And unfortunately, you had said, it took you hitting rock bottom before you actually had that awakening of awareness and clarity is what you had said. And that clarity, it sucks, but sometimes we got to go through hell and keep walking through hell to see that clarity. But that's just life. That's what it is. The most successful people that I've met have literally had to walk through hell. But you don't see that on social, you don't see that on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. I can tell because you're so authentic. If you hang out with this young lady long enough, you will see that is the truth. And we end up seeing it, sometimes when we run into health issues, because all the money, when all that money and the millions of dollars don't mean shit is when you don't know when you're going to see your next day. It puts things in perspective like that. And it sucks. It sucks that that's the way that it happened. I wish, that I would have had that awakening in my 20s. But unfortunately or fortunately, I mean, I'm not living in regret, but I had, one goal. It was to make as much money as I possibly could, and it's about that happiness. It's about getting that clarity. So thank you for sharing that story. It was amazing. And inspiring again.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, I think money is a byproduct of our the things that we put out into the world, right? So if we make money, that's great. That means we're doing something. We're giving value. We're somehow giving some sort of service or product or effort. But I realized that I figured that out a couple of different times, different ways, but it hasn't always been the formula to building the life that I want. Now I feel like I'm living that life and along the way making some money. So it's nice to do both.
It is nice to do both. Well, thank you so much again. I cannot wait to see you in Dallas, hopefully sooner than that. But if not Dallas, and if you're watching this on YouTube and you love the content, hit that subscribe button. And thank you again, Veronica. Tell Tony we said hi.
I thought we were going to talk about EXP. I thought we were going to talk about EXP.
Well,
I thought we were going to talk about EXP.
Well, our platform is EXP. But really the big thing is having some valuable lessons that come out talking to you, and it always happens. So I knew it would. And I think people got great. If you're thinking about EXP, if you're a RE/MAX person or Keller Williams or any of these amazing companies, and you're wondering why, someone like Veronica, reach out to her, find her on Facebook, Instagram, I'm sure, right? Or log on to onebigfire.com, onebigfire.me, and let's start a conversation. But until then, thank you again. And everyone out, we'll see you at the top or from the top.